All right, TGI Thursday. This will be the week update. There won't be one tomorrow. I'll get everything in this one. Yesterday at the general membership meeting, I let everybody know that I'd be posting the arbitration award that was ratified as an ordinance by the city council last week. It is on the FOP website under news, latest news. Click on it. You can download the PDF file and read it. You will see in the first few pages under provision number 3 that the city stuck in the provision for the healthcare increase as if that was an agreed upon mediated arbitrated settlement and part of arbitrator Ben's award. It was not. It never was. And it was pretty not only deceitful but probably illegal in what they did, and we are having discussions about taking the city to court over that illegal maneuver and misleading the city council, because as you remember, the city made the very simple pitch to the aldermen that we ratified and agreed so many dozens of proposals between the two parties, and that there was only one that was not agreed upon, and that was the arbitration for termination cases. Well, that's 100% of a lie, because it makes it look like now the healthcare increase was something we agreed to. It never was. It is currently the subject of not only grievance and demand for expedited arbitration, but also an unfair labor practice. But that's the games and the not bargaining in good faith perspective that the city has pursued from day one, especially when it came not only to the arbitration for termination cases, but the healthcare provision that we have been fighting like hell to get lowered, not increased. So stay tuned on where that goes. We did have a call with the arbitrator today to go over the next step with the leftover arbitration award for the termination cases. And that's just a process that needs to be followed. The call went somewhat as expected. The healthcare component was also discussed briefly, but that's not in his purview at this point. So we kind of went back to the arbitration proposal. With the holidays coming up, the arbitrator has pledged that since there is no movement on either side, he will issue a final supplemental decision, a secondary decision, if you will, in either support. There's not to be expected any changes to his original award, and he will issue that to us in the city the first week in January, and then with the city to go with it from there. We shall see, but they do have a council meeting in January 24th, I believe, which we expect them to take a second vote. But again, we have maneuvers still. If they certainly want to play games with it, we're demanding a second vote, and we want to know where aldermen stand on labor law now so we can get into courts sooner. There are far too many of our members, upwards of 30, who are still waiting for this decision to come down. It is absolutely unfair and egregious that they're going through this mental torture of, am I going to get this labor benefit or not, like every other union in the city. Stay tuned on that. Contractually, so the city still doesn't have a 100% answer on a couple of these topics. Let's start with the stipend for bikes and what's going to constitute bike certification. Our stance, the very simplest way to determine that is any officer who was issued a city helmet through the bike certification process at whatever point they went through it is considered bike certified. Simple as that, because there are several different versions of the bike certification process, and the city should not be able to set the bar so high and determine how many people qualify for it. That wasn't the spirit of it at all, and Management and Labor Affairs has been notified where our position is, and keep it as simple as whoever was issued a bike city helmet should absolutely qualify for that stipend, because they are technically deployable, and that was the only qualification for that stipend. Stay tuned on that. The sellback of hours, they're still working on that. Again, this is the city that can't even figure out how to pay people correctly on the 7th and 22nd, which are the dates they wanted for 2 years. But the suggestion was that when you fill out the form for your sellback, baby furlough, and personal days, there's a box in there also for how many of those 50 hours you want to sell back, and then it all gets paid out at that April 1st date. It's the simplest, most seamless way to do it. But again, the easy way is not always what ends up happening in this city and this department. Stay tuned. I hope, knock on wood, I have an answer for you beginning of next week on how that's going to go down. Parental leave. You do have the ability to put in for parental leave. The language for us is really no different than the sergeant's language that's currently there, but there is no order for below the rank of sergeant currently. So if you want to see what provisions there are in there, it's either in the arbitration award that's posted on the website, that's now an ordinance, or you can look up the employee resource for the sergeants to find out the city's policy on the parental leave, but you are able to apply for it currently right now. I'm going to go to the simplest example I can give you. If you had a retroactivity component to it, if you had a child, let's say in August of 2022, as of January 2023 this year, you would have been entitled to the full 90 days. Even though your child is now 1 year old plus, you still are entitled to that 90 days as if it was January 1, 2023. That's just the reality of how it's set up. Again, there's going to be some specific calculations on a case-by-case basis, but apply for it. If you get denied or told it's getting denied, notify us right away and have all the documentation you possibly would need, and we'll fight the case and make sure you get every day allotted to you for that parental leave. FTOs. The city increased the budget for FTOs going forward, so Management Labor Affairs has confirmed that any FTO who passed the test, did the training, and is kind of on a need-to-use basis will be formally promoted to FTO according to the budget numbers ahead of everybody else sooner rather than later. Didn't give a hard date, but that's to be expected to be relatively in the very near future. In the next couple of weeks, that should be finalized so those budget spots are full. Other than that, all I can tell you is stay tuned. The contractual rights matter. We are never going to back off fighting for collective bargaining rights, not only to increase and enhance what we have, but to enforce the things that the city is obligated to stand up and deliver. And it's going to be a little bit of a fight, I can tell you that. But whether we have to go to court, so be it. Nobody's talking about anything like the raises not going into effect or anything like that. Do we have the ability to try and challenge and throw out the whole thing? Certainly. But we're focused on that increase in healthcare, which we never agreed to. And I'll let you know what happens as we go forward with that. Everybody have a good weekend. Thank you.